Hey, everybody, it's October 23rd, if you can believe that. Where did 1999 go? It's 12 o'clock or 12:15 on the West Coast, and I have the hiccups right just in time. My name is Dan Boul. This is Lunch with Dan Boul. And right next to me is Ron Ellis. Hi, Ron.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much. I give you the guitar player handshake there.
Of course.
Sorry. Ron Ellis, as many of you know, is one of the premier pickup makers on the planet right now. And I've known Ron for years. And so Ron was nice enough to come up today, and we're going to talk about his pickups. We're actually going to do a pickup swap here on the show, which I think is pretty fun. So you guys are familiar with Kermie the Strat, and I put a new set of Ron's pickups in there a couple weeks ago, and we're going to try another set because I didn't get my white Strat here in time. So we're going to do a whole pickguard swap. You can hear about it. So I use Ron's pickups in my Les Pauls. I use it in my Strats. Peter, what's Peter using of yours now? He's got 2 or 3 sets out, doesn't he?
He's got a couple Tellys, couple Strat sets, and then 2 humbucker sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're starting to hear his pickups everywhere. They're very high demand. They're kind of expensive, and not for posterity's sake, because Ron goes to great detail with materials and time and labor to make these things to what he feels is the correct recipe, which I tend to agree with him because I hear the results. And I've known Ron for almost a decade, and he's been coming up to me for 10 years going, I'm almost done with the pickups. I really want you to try them. And then I really didn't get my first set till a year ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he really does the right thing, and he's had some great success. There's a couple of custom shop guitars that have adopted his pickups that we'll talk about. He's here in San Diego. Do you live in San Diego proper, or are you?
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, up there where Callaway Golf is.
Yep, not too far from there.
So do you have a custom fit driver that you trade for pickups?
I don't play golf.
Oh, what? You live in Carlsbad and you don't play golf?
Well, that or surfing. I knew that if I picked up either one of those, it would engulf all my time. So why even go there?
Yeah, golf is not congruent with a good career.
Right.
And a family.
Well, plus I race bikes. I race bicycles. So
oh,
I
yeah.
was putting in 200, 300 miles a week.
Well, that's a good place for that.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Where do you race?
Huh?
Where do you race? What brand?
Well, I used to do road bikes and rode all different. Depending on the year, we had sponsorships.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's a really healthy guy.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get back into it, in fact.
Are you?
Yeah. So, it's fun. It's a great sport.
It really is.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
They've gotten so expensive with these carbon fibers.
And then over here on the sofa, you can see Jeff Ruiz sitting back there. I think we're going to have Jeff play a little bit today because he's a monster player. You guys are all sick of me playing. And Brett Chasen, of course, which we didn't play the theme music today.
You know,
That's right.
You just kind of jump right into it, man.
Son of a...
You know?
We can do it. We can do a soft opening here if you want.
Of course.
And Miles Rose, of course, is here to throw in his 2 cents on everything. And it's my fault. I was going to have Miles bring his little green machine in. Here we go. Hey, everybody.
Want to do the MC now?
From Burbank, California.
No, you should do the MC. You have a better speaking voice.
He's got that voice. Yep.
It's Lunch with Dan Boul.
Oh, wait a minute.
This week's guest from the San Diego Zoo, Joan Embry. A woman from Glendale that knits. The king and queen of Sweden. And pickup guru Ron Ellis.
Yeah.
I'm Brett Chasen here with Miles Rose and the Sofa Kings. Without any further ado, Dan Boul.
Hey, that works, huh? Yeah, it works.
Paying the bills, I'll tell you that.
Well, okay, so there was that. So let's just start off, like, Ron, tell us, like, you've told me all the stories, and I don't think I can put them all into one paragraph, but you probably can't either. But what got you started on doing this? And then if you could go into that, like, and then I know you hit some hurdles, like trying to find out the unknowns in the pickups on the vintage. And you have a pretty good collection of vintage pickups. At least you've been exposed to a ton of them, what I know.
Yeah.
And you can tell me, like, how you decided to go to the next step that you've gone to, which I think you're the only guy doing the kind of stuff that you're doing. So, what got you started on this? Is it neurosis like everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, it always was. Like anybody else, you have the new guitars with the newer pickups in it, and then you have a friend bring an old guitar, or you go to Guitar Center Hollywood and you grab like an old Telly or Strat or Les Paul, and you think, what the hell? What's the difference here?
Yeah.
Why is it such a big difference? And I think so that happened many times over, where you just look at it and you hear all the old stories of it's the blood, it's the sweat, it's the stuff on the bars, it's the smoke, and all this, and it definitely has some effect on it.
Yeah.
But there's more than that. I knew it was something in the materials,
Well,
obviously.
You're an engineer. You're a scientist.
Well, I'm a materials guy. That's
Yeah.
what I do, and so that always had me curious. But also getting involved with Alan Hamel. I years ago I took him an old Telly to rebuild, because Alan was such a great Telly guy, historian.
Yeah.
And
Alan
he used to
was
work
one of the original custom shop guys.
custom shop guy.
Yeah.
He did a lot of artist work,
Mm-hmm.
and really just brilliant at that stuff. And so I took him an old Telly that I'd acquired, 64 Telly that I still have, great guitar. And so in getting to know Alan, I started playing the pickups he had in one of his custom shop guitars there, and it had that old Blackguard vibe.
Yeah.
And the second I played the guitar, it was like, oh, you must have put old Blackguard Telly pickups in here. And he
Yeah.
goes, well, kind of. He said they are, but they're only 2 weeks old.
Oh, nice.
And so I give Alan a lot of credit for, he was the guy that really took it to another level of
Yeah, I
saying,
remember I had a set of the Alan Hamel Strat pickups for a long time that you gave me,
Yeah.
like in 2004.
yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were very nice pickups.
yeah. And so I won't go into all the details, but, Alan and I were together for a couple of years. I was retailing the pickups for him. And he just couldn't keep up with the orders. Just a lot of different reasons.
Welcome to manufacturing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, when we parted ways, I started dabbling in it myself, and just with a curiosity. So then I started getting, people were sending me pickups, old pickups to test. And I bought stuff off eBay and finagled people to test their pickups without ruining the pickup.
Yeah.
And
I do the same thing with Transformers. Can I?
Exactly, yeah.
Can I look at this for a
Let me
minute?
tear into it. Look
You
under
won't
the
even,
hood.
You won't even know I unsoldered it, I swear.
I swear, right. And sometimes you can do that, and sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
But early on, Nacho, who did the Blackguard book, contacted
Oh, yeah.
me, and he sent me over this box of like Holy Grail pickups. These were like old Esquire.
Now, I like it when you say box and your hands are this far apart.
And it
I'm
was.
imagining like 50 pickups.
It wasn't that many. I think it was like 8 to 10 sets that he sent over.
Wow.
Some of those I was able to take apart and actually shoot the magnets and the spectrometers. Others were working pickups out of his premium old guitars.
Now that's a tangent I'd like you to go off on when you at the right moment, like talk about the spectral analysis that you
Yeah.
do on the magnets and stuff.
So, so I started. So Nacho wanted me to test all these materials and validate what these magnets were, the wire was, the gauge, and all that. So I have the ability to do that in my day job.
Right. It's
And-
classified by the CIA. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't mention the company I work for because some of the work was done there.
Did you
and
hear
then,
that? The company.
The company.
See? Yeah.
But I have a multi-million-dollar spectrometer right there on the site that
Yeah.
I can use, and I have a spectroscopist
Like we all do.
that
Yeah.
basically every time you go to his,
A spectros. That sounds like some of a James Bond movie. What is it?
this guy he's a spectroscopist, and
Oh, so
so this is the guy that mans the spectrometer, and he does
Yeah.
this 10 hours a day. And normally when you go up there, basically there is a sign up that says CIA,
Yeah.
don't enter,
right.
because he's doing a lot of
Right.
CSI.
What's Al Qaeda made out of? Right.
All the above. I mean, this
Yeah,
guy is
right.
amazing. And so anyway, I give him a bottle of wine to do this, and it's all good. But
Should we be talking about this on the air?
that's as far as we'll go.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't want you to get in trouble here.
So, but I think the thing that really hit me is I was at Guitar Center Hollywood about this time when I was, working with Alan
Yeah.
and doing the Blackguard stuff. And there was a guy in there that I got to know from Texas who worked there. And he said,
know that guy.
he said, you want to play?
He's on their picture at the headquarters. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Really nice dude. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah, forget his name. But anyway, I said, what do you have in tellies? And he goes, well, let me grab one from the back. And it was a 61 Telecaster.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I think it was like $10,000.
Yeah.
You know, back then it was outrageous.
Yeah, sure.
But I wish I'd have bought it because
Right,
it
yeah.
was one of those guitars. You play it, and it's just literally, you just were like hardwired into the amp. There was the guitar disappeared,
I know exactly.
and the
what you're talking
creativeness
about,
just
yeah.
came out. And part of it was the guitar, and a lot of it was the pickups, that percussive, that
Mm-hmm.
compression and bloom and release, and the feel. We always talk about the feel. That's what Jeff and I, more so than the sound, it's the feel of a great guitar. That's, you know, if
Yeah.
it feels good, it's going to sound great.
Yeah, they're very intimate objects, you
Yeah.
know, and your personal geometry, et cetera, you have a very intimate relationship with a guitar that doesn't really have an adjective. It's just right or wrong.
It's just right or wrong.
Yeah.
And when it's right, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Blows your mind. That was really what got me going on this thing. Right
Mm-hmm.
then and there, I said, I can't afford this damn guitar. But
Make my own.
in my mind, I was thinking, what could I sell? You know, my
Yeah.
wife, my kids, whatever.
That's right. Exactly. I don't
And-
need 2 cars. What the hell?
That's right. I could walk to work.
Yeah.
So I just made a commitment right there that I, on my own, I think at this point, I was on my own doing the pickups, and Alan and I had parted ways. And I just said, I'm just going to pursue this and try to figure out
Right.
what really makes this tick. You know, whether it is the guitar or the pickups. So I started working on it. And I worked for like, I think it was 3 or 4 years before I ever sold a pickup.
Right.
You know,
Well, I know. I can say I've been hearing about them forever. It's like, oh, my girlfriend in Canada. Oh, yeah. Okay. Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it took a long time, because what you have to do when you start doing pickups, like I think like anything else, with amps it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to put the time in.
That's right.
And I think that's probably a big difference between somebody who really goes into detail in making pickups or guitars or amps
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, you've heard me rant about transformer silicon content and
Yeah.
you know and lead dress and different kinds of wire, you know, all
Yeah.
these sorts of things. You just got to learn it. It's not particularly complicated. You just got to spend the time to do it.
Well, it's like, to find the sweet spot, you have to go too far to the right and too far to the left.
Right.
You have to put those in the
And that-
guitar and experience it and say, okay, that didn't work.
And that costs
here's
money.
why it didn't work. And it
Yeah.
costs money and time.
Right.
And so there are many times, you know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, I would come up with this wild hair idea for pickups, stick them in the guitar. The first strum, you knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
But it wasn't wrong because it was a data point. And
Sure.
then if you're careful about documenting everything, you find the sweet spot of all those different materials.
Right.
And it's very complex, and it's very wide range of what you can do.
Yeah.
And part of it is you want to stick to tradition, and in other ways you don't. You want
Well,
to try
you
different
want to
things.
evolve,
You want to
yeah.
evolve and try new things.
Like, you know, with the formula that we have for our amps, I think you probably did a similar thing. Like, I built the first amp with all of this material, and then all of that material, and then all of, you know, 3 different kinds of resistors, caps, and I made a spreadsheet, gave it a score, and then I would start going through, and then I created a pivot table, and I could turn and see, oh, I like this resistor on the plate, and I like this on the cathode, and I
Exactly.
really like these sorts of caps in this position, and I like the screens to be this much of the plate.
Yep.
And then it just tells you. And now I have
Yeah.
that formula just locked in my head, and every time we do a new amp, that's it. And there's,
Yeah.
you know, no one else really, except Peter, really knows what that formula is.
Well, and it's so much more complex than an amplifier.
But it was
You've got so many variables.
But it was 18 months of beating my head on the wall and doing just neurotic record keeping and,
Yeah.
you know, resoldering and just over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I'm
Well,
just
it's the
saying,
same with-
I get your neurosis.
It's the same with me. I mean, I think anybody in my neighborhood, any time from morning till night, my garage door's open, and I'm out there working
Right.
and trying this stuff. And
Kids playing basketball and stuff. And
everybody looks at me like I'm probably totally weird in the neighborhood. There's that guy that lives in
It's
his
that Ellis
shop,
guy. Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Don't let the little kids play too close to his house.
Yeah. And another thing I didn't want to do is, and first off, I'll say that I have the utmost respect for these these other pickup makers out there.
There's a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
Seymour, there's a lot of great stuff. And I have a lot of admiration for those guys.
Yeah,
I really do.
absolutely, yeah.
I just didn't want to recreate what a lot of these guys were already doing.
Right.
You know, there's the pickups that are very like fundamental and pretty, and those work in certain situations.
Right.
You know, like when you start working with big artists, as you know,
Yeah.
somebody who's playing in their bedroom or playing a small club, it's very different from a guy that's cranking wide open on stage.
Through a 500,000 watt PA system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I had the opportunity to start working with like Brad Paisley and Keith Urban and these guys,
Keith's such a sweet guy. Isn't he?
feedback is, I've actually never talked to Keith,
Oh yeah, who do you work with? His tech?
his tech, yeah.
Oh, okay.
what's his name?
I'm forgetting his first. I don't know his old tech really well, but his new guy.
It's his new guy. Yeah, that's worked with Peter. In
yeah,
fact,
that guy. I
That
know
guy.
his.
Anyway.
We know him. He's a great
yeah,
guy.
but when you start working with those guys, again, it's just. You don't mind sending pickups off to them to try, but you want to hear back.
You need
you
feedback.
need the
Yeah,
feedback.
right.
That's everything.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's been good communication with most of these guys. And so again, you keep one foot in tradition because there's nothing like those old pickups
That's right.
and old guitars.
Yeah.
So you keep your eye on that, but you have to look, in the modern day of what you
Sure.
have available.
Well, I have the same conversation quite a bit. The environment that these things function in is wholesale different than it was in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
The components don't exist anymore, but even the electricity coming out of the wall is different than it was then.
Yeah.
We were happy to get 113, 114. Supposed max was 117 back then. You plug in anywhere here in the valley, you get 123, 124,
It's over. Yeah.
and that increases the B plus on the amp 15, 20 volts.
Yeah.
Like you have, and then there wasn't rooms full of smartphones and LED screens and wireless microphones and
Right.
huge arenas that had computer cabling all around them, and all of those things it's a different environment for electronics to function in. You have to consider that.
Yeah, just the atmosphere for the amp, plus
Yeah.
then the materials.
Right.
Totally different.
Yeah, I mean
A lot of them.
they just don't exist, and you
Yeah.
probably run into some of that. I mean, the copper and the magnets have to be different than they were 50, 60 years ago.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, they're probably similar, but
yeah.
they're
But the slightest
they're-
difference makes a huge difference in sound.
right. They're made in computerized foundries now.
Right.
They're computer annealed.
Well, everything is
Yeah.
so pure now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And actually the materials, when you look at it on a, scientific level, they're much more pure than what they were in the old days.
Right.
And there was a lot of variables in the old days,
Mhm.
even with those materials. But, so some of the materials I have remade to those old specs because those are key things that makes a big difference. There's other things I can use off the shelf. There's a lot of great products out there.
Yeah.
I always say, like when I had my humbucker adjustable screws, the Philister head screws, to get them made to my specs, I had to buy 60,000 screws.
Yeah.
Literally, I tried to talk, please let me do 20,000.
Yeah.
And that's enough for a lifetime for me.
Yeah. I was going to say, how many screws are you ever going to?
I think I have enough for a while.
You can start a screw business.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I had to sign a release
Yeah. Saying you
saying
wouldn't?
that I could not resell these screws because the way the material was made, I had to write that these were basically screwed into a plastic bobbin. They were not used as a metal-to-metal fastener. And I could not legally resell these. I had to sign a release to that. Whether that would hold or whatever, but
That's great.
so there's a lot of hurdles, and all the guys, guitar guys, amp guys, pickup guys, all know the struggles that you have in
Yeah.
trying to keep the materials good. Another thing is when you get the materials, you have to test it in the pickups.
Yes.
So I take each lot that I get of magnets, and I run those through the spectrometer.
So now, what do you learn? That's what I'm really curious about when you spectral analyze a piece of metal. What are the details that you learn? Like, I'm assuming with like an Alnico magnets, aluminum, nickel, and cobalt.
Right.
But when you say Alnico, it doesn't mean it's this much aluminum, this much nickel. It just means it's those three metals.
Yeah.
How much variance can there be in that recipe?
Well, I mean, when they came up with Alnico 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, whatever, 8, it's supposed to be a specific metal matrix, an average of what it has in there,
Right.
the ratios, but that's all over the map.
Well, I was going to say, assuming a hand annealed steel from the 50s, I would imagine there's a huge variance.
Well, just the way it's poured. I mean,
Yeah.
and especially in the old days, it's a little bit better now, but it's very similar. Sorry,
Is that
that's
you?
me.
Oh, yeah, it
dinging.
comes across really well.
Yeah.
It's like every time you say something smart, it goes ding.
Ding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a button here.
Yeah.
But so if I buy Alnico 3 from one place, it'll have Alnico.
Mm-hmm.
Other places, it will be Alni, no co
Really?
at all. And
Wow.
the old magnets had no cobalt. And that was the first big find, and that's what's actually published in the Blackguard book. In the back of the book, you
Wow.
can see in there the
It was just a marketing gimmick.
well, Alnico, it was just like a blanket name for, because most of the magnets had aluminum, nickel, cobalt. But again, back in the early days during the war, they used cobalt in a lot of the materials at wartime.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to find cobalt.
Yeah.
So Alnico 3 was the cheap go-to
Right.
magnet material. and it has about half the magnetic strength of an Alnico 5.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do because of not having that cobalt. I think a lot of the reasons they put in cobalt also was if you look with an electron microscope into one of the magnets, an Alni 3 looks like the Grand Canyon. It's got all these voids and valleys.
Wow.
And if you put cobalt in it, it kind of homogenizes that. It fills everything, and it's like a bonder. And you'll see a lot of times in old, especially old blackguard tellies, you'll notice if you look at the magnets, you'll see like a big hole right in the middle of it.
See, now, not to interrupt you, but I find this just stupidly fascinating because as far as I know, I don't know anyone that's gone to this level of analysis before. And so you're demystifying all of these voodoo, magic, anecdotal things that we've all been taught to accept, which I love that because that's my mission with amplifiers. Is there's just all this lore and legend and bullshit that just flies around. And it's like, no, there's got to be a scientific answer for this.
Well, there's a lot of again, and there's been a lot of other pickup makers do analysis. There's a lot of guys out there doing that.
Yeah.
And so they've gone through the same thing. There's different opinions you get. Now, every single like blackguard telly set that I've ever tested has Alni 3 in the bridge and Alnico 5 in the neck.
Really?
Now, other people that I won't mention have come up and made statements that they've found, Alnico 5 in early blackguards.
Yeah.
I've never, ever seen that, and I don't believe that.
That was me. I'm sorry.
When you get up to like 1955,
Yeah.
then you start seeing the transition. That's when Leo started going over to Alnico 5, and that was probably because he got the barrels of magnets cheaper.
From what I understand
You
with
know.
Leo, everything was just best deal he could get.
Yep.
Because he was down there in Orange County, and there's all those...
all the aircraft industry.
But there's all those surplus yards. So
Surplus
like Huntington
yards.
Beach and
Yeah.
all those places that are just huge Army, Navy surplus places or storage facilities.
Yeah.
If you've been to Huntington Beach where they have all the mounds, where there's just missiles and bombs and crap all stored underground right at Huntington Beach. And
Yeah.
people are surfing going, woo, hang
Oh, yeah.
10, dude. Like, hope there's not an earthquake. But
Well, I talked to George Fullerton,
Yeah.
about couple years before he passed away, and he said that. He said Leo was constantly looking for the deal, and also there were times they would order the magnets. This was from George, and what was good about George is he was real honest. There were questions I asked him about all over the map about Fender days, and he would say, "I don't know.
yeah,
That wasn't my department."
sure.
But there were a lot of things he actually did remember, and he said one of those was that a lot of times you go to order a specific part. We don't have that in stock right now.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and send what you have.
Exactly.
Suddenly there was your change from Alnico 5 to 3 to whatever.
You
It was a cost-effective.
You got to ship gear.
Yeah, you got to ship stuff.
Right.
And so anyway, in my opinion, from what I've tested, and I've tested hundreds of magnets now from old Strats, Tellys, and now, a lot of the Bucker stuff. And I find it very consistent that in the early days it was that formula that they had. And then, of course, in about 55 is when they changed, went to Alnico 5s and all that. But so there's that, the wire analysis that I've done, the insulation, the enamel, the form bar was very different from what it is today.
Right.
So you have to go out there and you have to find, it's easy to say, and there's a lot of guys out there that say, well, I have my wire manufactured to my own specs. Well,
Okay.
yes and no. Okay,
Yeah.
you just nod your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to find a formula, and it's crazy, but I call it grandma's cornbread. It's like, everybody knows that there's flour, there's water, there's a pinch of salt,
That's right.
and all this, but why is it that my grandmother made the best damn cornbread in the world?
'Cause that's what you grew up eating.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But it's a recipe that you come up with.
Yeah.
You use good fresh materials,
And a lot of it's because your grandma's hands were in there.
that's right.
I always
It's
make
the
the
attention to
analogy,
detail
like,
as you make it.
I make chicken and noodles with herbs and spices on it at home, and it doesn't taste anything like Wolfgang Puck's.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same exact
But it tastes
ingredients.
like Dan's recipe.
Yeah, it's Wolfgang's
Yeah.
better at it.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's just kind of a recipe. And another thing is, again, the materials vary a lot, and so you have to stay on top of checking everything. When I wind, you have the controversy of, hand winding versus machine. Well,
Right.
so many people say, well, you can make a machine that duplicates the hand wind. There'll never be a machine that duplicates the hand wind.
Now we had a conversation about this. You were telling me that the wire isn't always consistent.
No.
And there'll be thin spots and heavy spots, and you have to feel that and adjust the tension by hand for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the factors people don't consider. Like there's
Yeah.
this level of detail that you have to go to get it correct. Now, explain to us what you do in that situation.
Well, I mean, in the hand winding process, you just get a feel for it. I've seen Seymour on his video say that. I mean, think how many
Yeah.
pickups he's wound in his lifetime.
He's wound me a couple of hand wound sets, and I've seen him sit there, and the wire comes to his finger, and he goes, Likewise, he can feel it. Something's changing.
You can feel it as it goes through. There's a certain tension you keep, and you have to adjust to that. And I've done it so long now that it's a feel you get, and it takes a while to get there to understand it. And on humid days, I'm sitting there with a bunch of talc powder.
Yeah.
Because it sticks,
Yeah,
and so
sure.
there has to be a consistency. But it's just a feel you get, and the way you whatever your scatter pattern is or whatever, you have to know how to build it. And if you're starting off with thinner wire, there's a certain tension change that you do versus thicker wire.
Yeah.
And form var reacts very different from enamel wires.
Right.
And so on. So it's a feel and adjustment you make. And fortunately, with the pattern that I do, it's very consistent. That's the comment that I get all the time, is the pickups from guys that have a lot of my pickups, that they're just very consistent. And
So now, okay, that's a good point. So let's go into make sure we're not missing any good comments here. The call sign is for my 59 reissue. Oh, okay, cool. The temperature's different. You have to smell it and know when it's done. Okay. We could have a conversation between. Okay, yeah. All right, you guys talk amongst yourselves. So now, like, what are all the different pickups that you make? And I know you do some custom stuff too. So, what are you making right now that people can call or write you an order?
well, Telly's, I'm doing basically right now 3. I do a lot of custom work, so I mean, if it's a special need, I can do that. But I've got 3 different bridge pickups in Telly's. I've got 3 different neck pickups I'm doing.
Right.
I kind of have the belief that there's a lot of guys that make like 20 different Strat sets. My feeling is that if you can't do it in 3 different sets, then maybe you should play a different
Yeah,
guitar
I
or
can't think
something.
of 3 different kinds beyond 3 that I like.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
3 distinct sort of winners in the Strat.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you pick up a great old 59 Strat, that'll probably do pretty much anything well.
Yeah.
Or the same goes for a blackguard Telly. You can play a great blackguard Telly beautifully clean, or it can do Keith Richards just
Full on rock and roll.
full on rock and roll.
Yeah.
So, but there's variables. You do. I do like like I worked with Brad Paisley in developing the 50-60 T set, which is Alnico 5s on the bass strings, A3s on the
Oh,
bridge. Because Brad, with his riffing around all the time, even old blackguards, they kind of get away from him.
Yeah. Sure.
They're not fast enough responding. So
Right.
he wanted something a lot tighter and quicker
Yeah.
responding on the bass strings. So I do that pickup. I do the 52T, and then the broadcaster.
Oh yeah.
And they all have a little bit different thing, but they all have kind of that signature compression on the initial attack, and then the bloom and the release, like the old pickups do.
I love it.
Neck
And-
pickups are like the old standard Telly. Then I make a mid-tall, a little bit taller, makes
Right.
it a little bit clear and open on the top end.
Yeah.
And then a tall neck, which is
Excuse me.
kind of in the Strat camp, foot in the Strat door there.
Very cool.
In Strat sets, I do the mid-60s are in this right now. The 50-60s, which again is the different magnets
Right.
in that whole set.
So that's what we're going to change today. And here in a minute, I'd like to get Jeff to come over and play, because these guys have heard me do my
Great.
predictable noodling a lot. So we can kind of show off this set a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a swap. And
Sounds good.
while you're doing, we'll try to get it where you can see it. We're going to try to do it on this table back here, I guess. And
No pressure.
no pressure at all. Don't fuck it up. Hey, we're not ruled by the FCC here, so. But yeah, that's cool. And then you got the 60 set.
Basically a 50 set. I have a set called the 59
Uh-huh.
set. I have the mid-60s set. I call it mid-60s because it's enamel wire.
Right.
And in 64, 65 is when they change back over to enamel.
And they're Alnico 5s, right?
Alnico 5s.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And then the 50-60 set. So a 50 set, a 60 set, and the 50-60s.
Yeah.
And the 50-60s
That's
are a
very
little...
cryptic, Ron. I can't figure it out. But
Well, the 50-60s are a little bit different because
Kidding.
In '54, they used all A3 magnets,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I use A3 on the treble strings,
Mm-hmm.
and then the fives on the bass side. So it's
Oh, nice.
so it's not like I'm just taking the '50 set that I do and the '60 set and
Right.
combining that. It's still a little different.
Yeah.
And then the humbuckers.
Right.
I'm doing the LRP set, which is the Leroy Parnell.
Right. So those of you who don't know, Gibson reissued or produced a Leroy Parnell Les Paul, and Leroy apparently wanted to have your pickups in there in order to put his name on it, which that's a nice little order to get going, even though you do have
It
to
was
work
cool.
with Gibson.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's a great start.
It was great.
That's
Yeah.
kind of when you first started going like, okay, I'm going to sell retail, not just sell to friends and
Yeah.
artists and stuff like that. I'm going to open up to the general public.
Well, and that was a big commitment for me because I'm the one thing that always pops up about my pickups is I'm back ordered. I'm always back ordered, and
We should all have such problems. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a struggle. It really is.
What's your wait time right now?
I'm quoting right now. I mean, I've got guys that have waited for a long time, but I'm quoting right now because we have a new system now with people on board.
I know
helping
you're
out.
always trying to improve, but you do it cautiously and judiciously so you don't compromise the quality at all.
Oh yeah,
We talk a lot on the side, so.
yeah. I run the stuff by Dan. He's been through these.
I've stepped in every pile of doo-doo there is. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's easy to do that. Right now, I'm quoting about 6 months on the orders.
Oh, that's not bad. I remember at one point you were like 18 months or something.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the orders went way over, and that was just because of my work schedule and my day job.
Yeah.
There's times.
You have a, what's it called?
Ellis
Life.
stumble
Life.
syndrome.
No, he has a life.
Man, it was, yeah. And a lot of things during that time that really bumped the orders back. We had a major breakdown at work on our machine. So basically, I was there all the time, working 7 days a week,
Oh, gosh.
long hours,
Yeah.
and the pickups just got put on hold,
Sure.
unfortunately. So, and then I'm the only guy doing it, so nobody's doing this while I'm at work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
but we have a new system now. I have my Jeff's on board. Jeff's helping out a lot with the pickups.
Oh, cool.
My brother Bill and his wife Lisa are down.
Oh.
And my son AJ is always, he does all the manufacturing of the bobbins,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
assembling the parts and all that. So now we have a system down, and over the last couple of weeks we've been having a lot of meetings about how to make the process flow.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really good.
Well, I imagine from your day job, that sort of process engineering for you
Yeah.
is pretty automatic.
Yeah.
Like, hey, fellas, 12 o'clock, we got to talk.
You know it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so that's all good. And but yeah, on the humbuckers, we did 105 sets for Gibson because
Wow.
they issued a 100 LRP guitars, and so that's a small number for them, but that was huge for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's 210 pickups you got to just whip out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Gibson needed those on X date because they had 30 guitars ready to go.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge commitment. So I had a couple of guys come up, my son's college buddies, and so I was doing all the winding and critical parts of that.
Yeah.
And then, and actually, my brother Bill did a lot of the winding on that also.
Yeah.
In fact, he wound most of the LRP pickups that are out there.
So at some point, are you going to have to change the name of the company to the Ellis Brothers?
I think so. Ellis
Yeah, I mean,
something.
like, oh, Ron Ellis pickups. You know.
Yeah, we're talking about that. But no, so he did tremendous help on that.
Yeah.
And so that was on the winding. I had the guys assembling. I was doing all the quality control checking.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge. It was huge.
Yeah.
Commitment. And,
Well, that's fun, though. That's exciting.
it is.
I've gone through phases like that where you get a big order and it's new stuff and you're like all hands on deck and you're running on adrenaline. And, the first couple of NAMM shows we did, Peter and I are pulling all-nighters at my house, like, putting in speakers and, when we first got into the business. And it's very exciting.
It is. Well, you
very fun.
have a deadline, and you have to meet that deadline. So if it's 3 a.m, it's 3
Right.
a.m.
And you're just praying, like,
Yeah.
God, I hope they like it,
But I have to say that we know the stories about, Gibson and all that, but it was really a really good experience working with Philip and Rick. They were
Yeah.
actually both really super to work with.
Yeah, I think those are all generalizations. There's just certain areas of Gibson that are really difficult. And they're a large company with challenges and all that
That's
stuff. It doesn't
understandable.
always make sense to a guy like us sitting on the outside. But
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Ron, did you learn from a business standpoint, those folks that sold you 60,000 screws and said you can't resell them? did you learn about that kind of business model? Meaning, if anybody else ever wants screws from them, they will come to this company and say, I need 10,000 screws. And they'll say, no, you need 50,000 screws and you can't resell them. So you could actually go into the business of reselling these screws.
Well, I thought of that actually, of the really hard parts to get, but again, I just, it's a whole nother business you open up then when
Well,
you
know what?
start selling parts.
Your contract doesn't say that I can't resell them. It says you can't resell them.
It's true. Yeah, the wording is everything, and right.
I'm a lawyer's kid,
And
so
I have one technical kind of strat question, an opinion. What would be your thinking on, I know people that have strats and they like the idea of having different pickups already mounted in the pick guards, so they could just swap out the pick guard, since one of the beauties
that's
of
what we're going to do
Strat,
today.
yeah, is attached. But the one place where you have to solder something is to the output jack.
Right.
I've known some people that have used bullet connectors.
Yep.
What do you think of that? Do you think it hurts things, or it's an okay thing to do, or whatever?
I haven't really experimented around, honestly, with that, but it's a great idea because then it's so much quicker.
Yeah.
Just snap it in. And we have little micro dot connectors that I'm sure you've used. They have a new little connector.
Micro dot. Where did I hear that? Something in college. Oh, that's.
Yeah. But it's a very solid connector. The problem is they're about $60 a piece, so they're not cheap. But
Yeah, so I've had a number of people ask me about that. And
I'll jump
I
out of the
said
chair.
that's
You
not
want me to do
my
one?
area.
I just kind of show off the
expertise.
set.
I have
and
no idea.
You guys can talk about it.
If
Yeah.
that would degrade things, or if that's a cool idea.
I personally like the solid solder connection myself. I mean, it's proven, and it's something I think just need to test it and see. I really haven't. Done
Okay.
Although, like Brad Paisley, his guitar techs, I mean, they change stuff.
Totally
that.
nerd
Changing
out.
stuff constantly.
Okay, I'm
do a soldering.
gonna interrupt you guys for a second here because it's almost 1 o'clock already. So, real quick question, Ron: is there a different wire used in the 5060 set? I have a set with the hot bridge, and the wire is different color on the bridge pickup.
Yeah, that the hot bridge is my idea. There was basically to try to put a broadcaster tele pickup in a Strat.
Ah.
And the broadcasters, they instead of 42 gauge wire was 43 gauge wire, and so to get it up to 10K or up close to that, you have to use a thinner wire.
Oh yeah.
And even though it's 10K, being it's 43 gauge wire,
There's not much bottom.
it's just a little different sound than like a regular 52
Oh, okay.
bridge pickup. That's normally about 7K or 7.5K.
All right.
So it's enamel versus Formvar on the other two pickups.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have Jeff Ruiz jump in the chair here and play, and I'll let you kind of explain each, this set and what's going on in here. And then what we're going to do is do a pickguard swap. Ron set up another pickguard with the 5060 set. Is that right?
5060s with hot bridge.
With a hot bridge.
Yeah.
And then so you'll get to hear a live comparison, as good as it gets, because it's the same guitar. If we had two guitars with two different pickups, it would not be as valid as putting it in the same guitar, because each guitar is so subjective and unique. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Ruiz, enjoy.
All right.
Go ahead, man. Jump in there. So what do we got in here right now?
Okay, so these are mid 60s, and it's a. I sent Dan two
Just
sets.
have you on a clean sound.
That's
The foot switch is over there. The
Okay.
right foot switch will hit the bump, and the left one will take you over to the dirty side. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is the mid 60s hot set, right, Dan?
Yeah.
I sent you two sets, and I sent you the
It's
first
the second set. Yeah.
second set.
Yeah, which is the hotter set.
Just from Dan's description, it sounded like he probably wanted the little bit hotter, warmer set. So they're just overwound a little bit more than the typical mid 60s. So mid 60s, round Eco 5 and enamel wire. And then this has a hot bridge, which I think this one was about 9.5K.
Oh, is it that hot? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And it's very dependent on the guitar that you put them in. As much as I hate to say that, as a pickup maker, I'd like to say these pickups sound exactly the same in any guitar, but it's very guitar dependent, obviously.
You're over on the British side of the amp now with the bump on.
I like
So you got this there's a little bit of mellow British heat. So one thing, Jeff, we like to do on the show, if you could, is let guys see your hands.
Oh yes, of
They,
course.
even
Well,
though
I'm
the
not
video
using-
the video's a little jumpy, but they like to kind of see what you're doing.
Right now I'm playing the D.
Yeah,
Whoa, which key is that?
right.
Cool. We got that, and then
So this is a blender too. You can roll in the
Oh.
neck pickup if you want.
nice.
Oh, you got a blend on it. Okay. That's a cool effect. I like that.
It just all it really does is your neck pickup's just too bright for a certain situation, like someone's singing.
Yep. Just roll it.
It just melts.
Yeah.
You don't really hear it, but it just rolls off.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And when I say you have a singer, like Peter and I both do, there's times where you just have to be a gentleman with your guitar.
Yeah.
That thing feels good, man.
That's a cool swinging guitar.
Cool, man.
Yeah, on guitar. And credit where credit's due, Michael DeTemple does the fretwork for me.
Oh, okay.
And his level of analysis on guitars is about like ours is. With respect to
He's
stuff.
really into it.
He's
So that's it. He did the nut. Cleaned up the frets.
he
or-
did the. No, Norik Rinson put that nut in there for me, and then Michael did the tailpiece, and then redressed my frets for me.
And then tie saddles, tie block.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and it's the original plate from the Japanese. And strings. It almost plays too easy. Doesn't it?
I was gonna say.
Like you can't play into it.
You don't have
I've
to
been-
fight it
yeah.
at all.
Yeah. It's like old man style.
That's really nice.
Well, maybe what we ought to do is let me get started on this.
Okay.
And how about if I pull out? I brought my 55
Let me
Strat.
show the guys something else, or we can have Jeff play.
And actually, this is a 54 set, so this is a new set that I'm doing.
Oh,
It's
cool.
all Alnico 3s.
Did you bring your and then there's a Strat? Did you bring your telly too? Because I'm woefully short on telly. I've got my telly.
Yeah, I can pull out one.
Let's show off the telly side.
Yeah. I brought this. This is a cool telly that Chad Underwood did.
Oh, really? Yeah, I want to see this. Show this on camera.
I took some pictures.
Put it on here. So, guys, go ahead and keep playing, Jeff. That's fine. This is the pick guard we're going to put on the Strat. We're going to do a hot swap with it on this Strat. And then while we're doing that, we'll have Jeff show off the
Obviously, he did these.
So yeah, this is the Telecaster. We'll show. I mean, while we're doing the telly, and this was done by a gentleman in Kentucky. He was telling me, and boy, it's just stupid. Listen to that thing ring. You don't even need an amp.
I was gonna say.
Crackle. Yeah. Wow. Holy moly.
It's like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, it is.
Play it in front of the TV.
Yeah. It's well, we had this conversation all the time about bedroom volumes. I'm like, this is louder than bedroom volume. People are going to hear this in the next room. Yeah, any louder than this, you couldn't play along with your television.
It's got that 65 amp.
Yeah, that's it. It's a little tiny amp right here on this knob. That's great. All right, why don't we go ahead and swap?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put this on standby for a second.
And we'll get some telly nastiness. So, Jeff, you see there on the amp behind you the green light that's on?
Yes.
That's the British channel, and on the
Okay.
other side is the American side.
Okay.
So if you want to get some more traditional 6L6 things, I got that other channel voiced to act like a British amp.
I'm going for it right now.
And you can do whatever you like.
Cool.
And so I always put Ron completely on the hot seat here.
Well, we'll see how fast we can do this. You know.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry. I mean, it's all right if I can't. Nobody cares. And I didn't string winder. All right. So Jeff,
Yes.
hey,
Dan.
sound good out there? So now you come from San Diego too? You live right down there? And are you a gigging player down there?
Yeah, I'm struggling down there like all the other guys.
San Diego's a tough town to make a living playing music, isn't it?
Yeah.
I used to play here in the 80s, and we went down and played like at the Bacchanal.
Yeah.
I remember that was the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's gone, but that was like we used to try to book gigs in San Diego, and the one place we could go was the Bacchanal, and there'd be a rowdy.
Yeah.
Where was that, in PB or?
Actually, that was in Claremont.
Oh, yeah.
Claremont Mesa Boulevard.
Right.
Yeah, I work with a band that does a lot of corporate stuff called NRG,
Uh-huh.
and so we get to travel a lot and we play down there. At
Oh, that's
a lot
cool.
of the hotels down there.
Oh, yeah.
The big rooms.
Well, so I would assume there's lots of private work there, just not a lot of
Exactly.
clubs,
Yeah.
because there's tons of money down there. I know people are having parties.
Yeah, a lot of parties. The big ballrooms. So I get to rev this stuff up. I mean, that was
Yeah.
part of how I got on board with Ron.
Yeah.
He'd make some pickups, and then I'd be like, I got a gig tonight. let me borrow these.
Can I try them? Yeah.
Yeah, let me borrow these.
That's cool.
And then I'd never pay him. And I still don't pay him for pickups. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Ron he collects his favors, and then 5 years from now, he's
I
gonna
know.
want you to kill somebody
Well,
for him.
it's
Yeah,
usually when you go have dinner.
you're gonna have to murder
Oh,
somebody
I
for
left my
him.
credit card at home.
Yeah.
You got this, right?
Yeah, remember all those pickups I gave you? Yeah, see that my neighbor's dog is barking too much? I need you to kill it.
Yeah.
It's no problem. That's cool.
So, I mean, ironically, I got lucky because my parents live next door to him.
Oh, perfect.
So, I'd go over there and see them, and he'd be in his garage would be open, and he'd have like fancy amps.
Right.
And
I'm gonna get on camera here.
I had crappy amps. I had crappy pickups.
Oh, no.
Everything sucked.
Oh, so he
And then I'd
enlightened
see
you
his
to a
stuff
world
in
of.
there was great, and I'd be like,
Oh yeah.
guy.
So he enlightened you to a world of poverty. Then.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then, so I started plugging in over there, and I was like, wow, I play a lot better when I sound better.
It's easy to hit the ball far with good golf clubs.
So I just started borrowing more stuff from him, and then eventually he was making some pickups.
Right.
It's great though. I mean, he's totally inspired me.
Well, he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
And his scientific approach is to me really fascinating, and I think he's done a good job of imparting that to players. Like, you care about the whatever coding on the wire. Listen, and you don't realize. I always make the analogy with amps a lot of times. Sometimes it's like saying, "Hey, do you hear the clock ticking?" No. Wait a minute. Yes, and then that's all you hear. And he does the same thing to me. He'll point out a certain frequency response or an attack thing. He goes, I never really quantified that. Like didn't know how to describe it, but now that you've made me aware of it, I hear it on every crappy pickup in the world.
Yeah.
It changes you.
The thing he showed me really was that, like, how to sort of not be emotional about the sound too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll, because I would come in and it would sound amazing, and then the next day we'd have the same stuff, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
and it was like because I ate too much or something.
Well, you're in a different place,
But he'd be like, well, no, listen, here it is, and let's do this, and here, let's record this, and yeah, I mean, it's just been great and inspiring, and I hope he's doing even more stuff that's like,
yeah.
with the P90 thing, hopefully.
Yeah, he's telling me he's working on some P90s he's really happy with.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of juniors we might have to test it out. Unfortunately, my juniors are all old ones, and I don't really want to change them. So I'm tempted now just to go out and get some reissue body, from eBay that rings, and let him put something in there.
Yeah. Well, we should probably get one of these Les Pauls in here too.
Oh yeah. What? Can you run through this guitar really quick? Let me just get you over to the clean.
Okay.
Whoops.
I can't reach. Here, I can.
Get you over to this. This is the driest, cleanest.
I think this is down.
Yeah, it's tuned down a half step, I think. Right away, I can tell that neck pickup sounds. I think we're killing Ustream here really quick. Right away, I can tell that that neck pickup is much better than any Tele neck pickup.
Well, the other thing about Ron's stuff is that when you roll it back, I mean, we have it real loud right now, but I mean, it's still there.
Right.
Whereas I used to solder like all this stuff on the wipers,
little
and
caps,
and then it
yeah.
would sound good for like you turn it a little bit and it sounds good, and then it would just disappear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you would have like a fuzz face on, and it would just. So his stuff you could just kind of.
Right.
Play it right.
And you don't lose anything. Yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, the way the pickups feel. I mean, there are a lot of great pickups. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
I have them still.
Me too. I mean,
the one
I
thing that I
have some, special pickups that I'll never get rid of.
When I first started playing this stuff, I was like, wow, you can play really live, and everything sort of like comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to have like a compressor on,
Right.
or have certain speakers, and
Right.
So it all comes from the hands rather than having to.
That's it.
So here's the middle.
Which Les Paul do you want me to grab? The one in the brown case?
What do you think, Ron?
What's that?
Which Les Paul?
Oh, you know what?
Yours or?
the Collins.
Try the Collins.
Okay.
That's got the LRPs in it.
This is
And here's the back. Oh, really?
Go. Oh, you do? Oh, great.
Let's give this guy a shot.
I'm really
Yeah, you got it sold.
digging your amps, man.
Oh, thanks.
Jeez.
Well, I know that.
Digging your amplifier.
So now this is the Leroy Parnell humbucker set. So they're pretty low output, aren't they? They're 7-ish, 7K, something like that.
Yeah.
7.2 in the neck and about 7.6 in the bridge.
7.2 in the neck.
LRP set.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's a cute guitar. This is the Cuban mahogany, is that?
I think it's got the Madagascar.
Yeah. Rosewood on it.
You gotta play it.
Yeah. I love all the Collings electrics.
So,
Now on this channel, this is kind of a humbucker single coil adjuster right there, so you can cool it off.
Thank you, sir.
So if you get that down to the green, you'll be. No, you can do it on the foot switch, or you can do it right.
okay, there we go.
Either way. But the foot switch will do it too. And this rig is not super accurate as far as the sound goes.
that's the rhythm, and then here's
You get middle position Freddie King thing.
yeah. These track really well. You
Yeah.
don't have to pick as much.
Well, that's what I have in the neck pickup on my Les Paul. And then he made me a bridge pickup, which is a little hotter.
Oh, okay, so you're cool with it.
Yeah, but I had that set in this Paul initially, I think, and he made me a little hotter bridge pickup after a month or two. So do you guys have any questions while we're here? I know we've kind of been not paying attention to you guys that much. I'm sorry about that. I wanted you to hear Ron do his thing.
That's kind of cool.
Reverend Elf, my Collings 290. P90 sounds good through Little Elvis. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Randy. Could you tell up about the telly? Yeah, Ron, when he comes back, I'll have him talk about that telly. It was a friend of his named Underwood that made that telly for him, and it's Chad Underwood. And, oh yeah, Ron, a lot of guys are asking what kind of pots and caps you like to use with your pickups.
Well, Jeff can answer that because we have gone through this over and over.
Yeah.
I'm actually having some pots made through CTS right now.
Oh, cool.
Specs.
And I know you got to buy 5,000 of those, right? I've done. That's what I do. I have some CTS pots made.
But
Yeah.
I buy a lot of them. But believe it or not, I've had a lot of good luck with the feel of just the alphas. They have just a really
I don't mind alphas at all.
They got a good feel to them.
Yeah, they're smooth.
They're smooth, yeah.
Yeah, they're very smooth. The CTS, I think, have the best element, but they're sometimes like when you at the end of the range of the pot, they're really soft.
Yeah.
Like it takes twice as much effort to move them in the middle of the range as it does at the beginning. You can accidentally overshoot with it on a guitar, on an amp. It doesn't matter, but they can just feel kind of flimsy, even though they sound great.
Yeah, the Russian paper and oil, is that right? The ones you're using?
Yeah.
They've been consistently the best ones, but I refuse. I keep going to Fry's and buying anything that looks like a cap
Right.
and trying them, and then being like, "This is it. This is the best one." And then I get to the gig, it's horrible.
Well, there's a bunch. A lot of guys. I don't know if you've tried it, Ron. I should give you some. A lot of guys like putting the Sozos in their guitars.
Yeah.
Still haven't tried them yet.
Yeah.
I have in one of the Underwood stretches.
Yeah, they're good. Makes a big difference. It'll give you a little more mid-range emphasis.
Yeah.
But you got to wire it so it's in the circuit. If you do the standard wiring on a Les Paul, the cap doesn't make any difference at all until you hit the tone knob. But you can stick it in line, and it sounds cool. Tell us more about the Russian caps. Well, as far as I know, it's the Russian version of like the Jensen paper and oil caps, right?
They call them K40Y-9s.
K40Y-9.
You can get them all over eBay. I mean, they're real common,
Mm-hmm.
but they're starting to get harder to get.
Yeah.
Everybody's privy to it.
Right.
They're like the closest thing.
And guys like you bought 20,000 of them.
Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a box.
6,000.
in the
6,000.
garage.
Only 6,000. Well, that's the problem.
What the heck,
Yeah, I do believe they are NOS Russian. That's right.
I think they're from like the 70s, 70s and 80s.
Right. It says "Death to America" on them. You imperialist pigs. So you notice on there, Michael does this thing. I think it's on the G string or the B string, where he puts a lot of extra wire on it. Just so it'll anchor better, because that's the one string on a Strat that never hangs. So he puts like twice as much tag on it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Almost there, Dan.
No, no worries. I'm fascinated to watch. So Ron's almost done already.
Okay, so how do I get back? So this is the British channel.
Oh, here, you can do it over here.
And then that's it.
There's the American. This is the channel
Okay,
switch.
where's like ridiculous, stupid
Game.
distortion?
Oh, here you go. You want to be over
See what
there.
happens.
Yeah, the red. And then that volume right there, you can push it harder if you want. You should hear it acoustically, because those hands are little fans. Yeah, Strats are always a pain.
Really? That's great.
It's a lot of tones in one box. And this one is 6L6s for doing that Van Halen stuff. You do the EL34, you'll do better.
Wow, that's cool.
Which cap value do you like, Ron?
You know, I send with the single coils. I send out 7s,
Right.
like the 400 volts.
The 400 volt .047.
But I encourage people to try, you know, like an 022 also. It'll brighten it up.
Yeah, it wasn't 022 standard on.
022 is pretty standard on Strats, but
Yeah.
when you get a really like open set of pickups, the 05, 047 will work.
Yeah.
Great.
I always like bigger caps.
I do too.
I mean, all it does is just allow more bass through.
Ton of wire on the D strings.
Yeah. He swears by it, and if I ever bring a guitar in that's not strung that way, he yells at me. Well, not yet, but you know, he's like, seriously, come on, I have to explain why this is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, I'm sorry. I'll be real good from now on, boss.
It's like Ed Reynolds,
Yeah,
who I know real well. Oh,
That's right.
Eric Johnson's the luthier.
Yeah, yeah.
Rhythms guy.
yeah,
Certain things he does, you just don't even question him.
right. Well, especially when he's working with Eric Johnson. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
I want my batteries drained down to 7.3 volts for the gigs, you know, that kind of stuff. Okay, Eric.
That's reality too.
I know. Oh, I was going to sell him a London. And let me preface this whole conversation by like, he's such a gentleman. And he's such a sweet,
nice guy,
gentle,
yes.
gentle guy. And, you know, he was talking to me about adjusting gain stage on one of the channels, you know, like 1/3%, you know, those sorts of things. And I'm like, Eric, I hate to break it to you, but just tubes aren't that predictable. We can get it set up and it'll be like that for 2 weeks and then you'll be unhappy again. Yeah, I know, but maybe we could, you know, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I think you're a good enough player to overcome this.
I've heard that he tried different screws in the speakers into the cabs.
Yeah. Oh, all that
Heard
stuff.
that he experimented with different
We
screws.
saw him at the Hendrix tour.
I hope he's not watching this.
Well, it's okay because he
He,
admits it.
he knows it. I mean, we're saying it in all good humor.
It's fascinating that
Yeah.
someone
Because I
you
want
know,
to
Right.
be
that.
friends with him still.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think he'd be offended at all.
Okay, good.
I mean, he knows he does it for a reason, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
No, there's that, and then there's the crazy stuff. Like I had a friend of mine who worked for who toured with a guitar player. I won't say his name, but he played in Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the tech used to yell at him when he took like the old Rickenbacker apart that he uses for one song or whatever. He had to take the screws out of the pickguard in a certain order and put them back in a certain order, or he swore he could tell the difference. You know, he'd yell at the dude. You're like, you marked those screws, right? They have to go back in the right. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I had an experience like that with him,
With that guy?
with that guy.
I can't say names. I'm just saying
I won't
Creedence
say names, but
Clearwater.
read between the lines.
Yeah.
Ended up
Oh, dude,
doing some.
you can't do pretzels.
Ended
anymore.
up doing some producing at his house,
Oh yeah.
and he's like, "We have to build a stand for the mouse, computer mouse."
Right.
I'm like, "No, I'm fine with it right here." He's like, "No, I mean,
Really?
we have to build
You got to call a contractor.
a little,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ron.
a
You
little
getting roasted
stand."
there?
So we got the stand built, and you talk about Bob.
I pulled a Bob.
We got the stand built, and it wasn't quite high enough.
Well, he's classic.
Wasn't the right height,
Wow.
and I got taken off the gig.
Because you didn't build it right.
Yeah. We didn't get it built high enough. And it's like, well, yeah, well, we'll revisit this another time. I don't need to. He was real nice about it.
Check out the 5 Strat. I've got it tuned down to half step down, and it's a killer.
What do you think, man?
I think I'm having a good time with this.
Nice.
I always like this guitar.
Let's see. Hey, Ron, guys were asking what your opinion is of different voltage ratings on the caps. Do you think it makes any difference?
I'm glad you asked.
You know, I think from like 100 up to like 600, I don't think it does. But when you get into the like 1,000 volt,
Right.
then plus the size of it, you get into the 1,000 volts.
Well, how do you fit it in? Yeah, they're gigantic. Ron was saying 100 to 600, he doesn't really notice any difference. And then, do you guys like the RS pods? The Super Pod is a CTS with their custom taper. You know, I've bought their 500K match pots before, and I've been real happy with them, but I haven't tried their custom taper. So I don't have an intelligent opinion on that.
Yeah, I'm not really the guy asking that either. I just go with the traditional pods.
Right.
All right, Ron, get this straight here.
We're almost there, guys.
What else we got? We got any other guitars that we want to?
There's this 50 Strat.
Ooh, get that one.
That's no,
That guitar smells bad.
that's no good. 50 Strat, that's no good.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, where's my tab?
No, bring us a fresh one.
Press any key.
Yeah.
Where's the any key?
Exactly. None of these old guitars. Bring in a new one.
You know, an interesting side note. That's the computer that runs it is a computer that has a paint sprayer in the face.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow. That's cool.
Wow.
So now, which pickup set is this, Ron?
These are actually a set that I'm doing now. They're 54, so they're all A3.
Oh, 54. So it's all Alnico 3 magnets.
Like the
Okay.
original 54 Strat.
Oh, yeah.
They changed over to about 55.
Yeah.
And Alnico 5 is the Strat.
Man, it sounds great from here.
And you have a
I've got my phone.
okay.
I don't have a pedal. I can
There's
get
a
it
rack
close
tuner behind
Oh, yeah, that's right.
the rack the producer's on.
Okay.
Above the Pro
You want to
Tool.
get in here?
Yeah, let me just, I think I can do it while you're playing. Is there a table in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, you can keep playing.
Hopefully she's so aware of it, right?
Is this thing? Yeah, turn it on.
Yeah, I think that's tune half
Yeah,
step
I
down.
know, the tremolo. It's unfloating. It's actually worth it.
Ron, you bring a guy can't play. Come on.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He's It's nice having him like so
It's
close
the
as my
pickups.
tester, you know.
It's the pickup.
It's the pickups, yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
so you buy these-
That's right. Play it off. Zeppelin.
Wow.
play whatever you want.
They're not gonna hammer you.
Watching the copyrightness of it.
I wasn't focused on the song for like 20 minutes and
That's when they.
What was it?
nobody's fault. I was also showing how Billy Squire had lifted that lick
From, yeah.
for Lonely as the Night. I'm like, he's
That
changed
is
two
the same
notes.
lick,
It's
isn't it?
two notes. And so
Okay.
Basically, this would go right there. It'd be freaking.
Rick sits in there and mollies.
I can see it.
Reference point. Henry's stuff is nailing it. Yeah.
Definitely close enough. First, I got this down. I know exactly where these things go. I know it's being there for these will be full cut here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you gotta do a weird canter.
Good. This is analog.
Exactly.
This make their faces with nothing.
Good.
Can I trade places with you for a second?
Yes. Please.
Even though your playing is much more enjoyable than mine.
It's the pickups.
Exactly. Just buy these pickups and you can
Told
do
you.
this.
There you go. Want to do that too? Yeah, this is different.
All right, fellas.
Takes freaking.
So here we have my green Kermie the Strat redone with a different set
Freaking bigger, dude.
of pickups. And the headphones just fell apart.
I ripped those apart when you were.
Oh yeah, they do it though. It's all right. They just snap
Hey,
right
hey,
back
hey,
in.
whoa,
Hey, hey.
I use my Walkman one.
Okay, let's see how she do. Now we just completely took the guitar apart
Actually, what I would do.
and oh yeah. Yeah, I like it. I think it's more appropriate for this guitar. Let me turn this mic back up so they can hear you. Is that you? Can you check that microphone?
Check, check.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just with the titanium and everything and the bone nut.
Yeah. Got to balance it out. fastest change of it, and I even crossed over the strings.
That was with a mistake.
That was with a mistake.
Hey, can you guys do this when I'm not doing my show? Because you're standing right in front of my light. You got 23 other hours a day to have this conversation.
Where the brawl starts? I heard there's
This is where I learned this. No, when I went to MI, I had to teach the Sweat Hogs music theory class because I knew theory really well.
That's
And
great.
and so it was, the kids that could play
Sweat
really
Hogs.
well, but they had no idea about theory. So I had to, and it was all 17, 18-year-old kids who thought it was rock and roll high school, and they're like doing pinch hits in the back of the room and stuff. And then they would just sit around going like this all day while you're trying to talk.
Yeah.
And finally I go up to some kid and I just grab his guitar and go, "Hey, asshole, you got 23 other fucking hours in the day to do this. You got me for 1 hour. Shut up."
Pay attention.
Like, and after weeks of going, "Dude, stop noodling. You in the back, quit noodling, stop
Yeah.
noodling." And I just snapped at one point and said, "You got 23 other hours in the fucking day to do this.
Yeah.
Shut up, or I'm going to cut the strings off your guitar right now."
Then they were all just eyes and ears listening.
Well, 75% of the room laughed their ass off, and the other 25% that were noodling kind of went like, they'd literally have to sit on their hands. Man, this sounds good, dude. I think this works better for this guitar.
Yeah. Well, the 50s, 60s, you pick up with the Alnico 3s on there, you get that compression
Yeah.
and then that bloom out, which is real sweet.
Right, the initial transient's softer on these.
Yeah.
Oh, now are you leaving because I said that? Don't leave, Miles. You're not going to go to lunch with us?
No, because I have somebody in from out of town.
Really? Is she cute?
Uh-oh, picture time. I think I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, you guys might want to leave with Miles. Yeah.
For a girl?
Yeah, what?
Oh, yeah.
Work.
See you later, man.
Miles, pleasure.
I'll talk to you.
We'll talk again. All right, see you later.
All right, so thanks, Miles. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Next time I got Ron up here, we'll do the green machine,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
and you can show him how you do that because you probably have some equipment very similar to that. And
Yeah.
The thing is, my equipment, it's portable. I mean, really easily.
Yeah. You've
yeah,
made
it's
it portable.
this big. The machine's,
That big.
Yeah.
Special cord.
I'd love to talk to you about that.
yeah.
It'd be great.
It's not rocket science, and you'd probably think of ways to improve it.
Nah.
Well, that's why you guys should know each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Take care, man.
See you, Miles.
All right, so tell everybody about this set again. Let's review.
Okay, so these are the 50 60s. So these are Alnico 5s on the bass strings, the wound strings, and A3s on the treble side.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I call it the 50s 60s because in 54 they used Alnico 3 magnets
Right.
throughout, and then they changed that going into 55.
So there's really no Alnico 2s and Strats then.
No, that was later on.
Yeah.
It was all 5s and
It's
3s.
like, what's left? Oh, there's some old shitty Alnico 2 in the back room. Fuck it. Use
Try
it.
it.
We got to ship guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, super sale.
It's funny. I got into all this production talk, when I did the Vox project with Jim Elliott and Derek Underdown came over.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking, because at the point I had a 64 AC30 integrated top boost, and it had an Albion power transformer, a radio spares choke, and a Woden output transformer. 75% Wema caps, 25% mustards, 80% Erie resistors, other 20% God knows what. And it was dead stock, hadn't been touched. I mean, I bought it from the original owner. And I brought that up to Derek, and he goes, "You got to ship.
Yeah,
You have to ship."
just
And
whatever in the boxes, go
so
for it.
Radio Spares was the, still is the British equivalent of Radio Shack. And, so we'd run out of chokes. So we'd send a guy with a checkbook to go to the Radio Spare store and say, "Give me all the 10 Henry chokes you got."
Yeah.
So they could get 15 amps out the door, and a guy'd run in the back and bring a whole box of them out, and that's what I got. And it's
Yeah.
the best sounding AC30 I've ever heard.
Was it really?
But it's a total mongrel. It's like, yeah, you just got to ship stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, I think this suits his guitar much better.
Rich, very rich sound.
Yeah.
And that's really not even adjusting the pickups. You'll need to tweak them in, dial them all in. You know. And as crazy as it sounds,
Yeah.
it's more so with the humbuckers, but the pickups really do have like a little bit of a break-in period.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
you got the flux and the electricity has to go through them.
Yeah, you got to.
Transformers do. People think I'm crazy, and transformer and a pickup have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And I tell people, man, you got to put about 100 hours on a transformer.
It just
before
mellows out.
it lets
Everything
its
just
hair down.
relaxes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, we break them in for about 40 hours at the shop, just so they're not all crispy and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell people, look, trust me, man, go out and play for a few weeks and call me back and I go, oh, you're right.
Yeah. The humbuckers even more so.
Yeah.
Humbuckers really
I
break
noticed
in.
that with those. When I first got them, they were really crispy. Not in a bad way, but now they've
Yeah.
really softened. And man, it's all just so great.
Good.
What process do you use to dial up the pickup height?
Well, you know, each set is different. If they're Alnico 5s, being that they're all 5s, you don't have to angle them down as much. But like with the 5060s, being that the 3s are about half the strength of the 5s, you have to drop them down into the pickguard.
Yeah. We've got a pretty extreme canter.
Pretty good
these.
angle on 'em.
Yeah. Which,
And-
I don't care. You put them in upside down if they sound good.
And basically what I do is, again, it's just by guitar and it's by your playing attack on the strings also. So just, I encourage people to sit there with a screwdriver for a half an hour, and just tweak. And you'll see it. You move them up too close to the strings until you get the warble thing.
It's a good thing you said a half hour, because what I've learned from doing that is you have to make the adjustment and then play it for a while.
Right.
Not just go, no, that's not it.
Play it.
You
Yeah.
got to play it because you'll change
Yeah.
your hands and you'll start doing things. You go, oh, there's something in there that I really like that I didn't see when the pickup was really high or whatever.
You'll never experience it until you actually try that. Too high, too low. Some guys drop them all the way down into the pickguard, and they dig that because they play a higher volume, you know. And
Yeah, Steve Travato's that way. His I mean, they literally almost fall out. He's got them down
Really?
so low, and it sounds great.
yeah. I mean, there is like a sweet spot you'll find, but I don't think there's any set pattern. I can give you a reference to go by, but then micro adjust that up and down.
Oh yeah. Well, I think this is a raging success. Thank you, Ron. This is
Cool.
fantastic. So Dirty 59 is asking, what are Alnico 4 magnets? I've heard versions of this story. I'm curious what.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of different versions.
Technically, it doesn't exist.
There really never was an Alnico 4. And I actually talked about this with the guys at Gibson. I think Alnico 4s are just Alnico 5s that don't charge up all the way.
Right. Well, that's
And
what I had heard.
There's a lot of those, so they kind of put those into a category of they're a
Yeah.
little less than 5. And you know, another thing too, there's a big misconception. A lot of pickup makers will say this, that you have the strength goes by the number, and that's not true. You have 2, 3, 4, 5, and actually it's Alnico 3s are the least strength,
Right.
then 2s, or then 4s if you're
Yeah.
using 4s, then 2s, then 5s.
Right.
So 2s are just like a softer, like I did some pickups for Dave Grissom,
Yeah.
and he likes Alnico 2s. He likes that response, and a 2 is like a rounded off Alnico 5.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes
I'm
you
a big fan of 2s also.
yeah, and sometimes you can degauss an Alnico 5 to make it sound like a 2. You can round off the edges, but 2s have a very distinctive sound. They're very smooth.
Oh yeah. The story that I had heard is that Gibson had bought a bunch of Alnico 5 magnets in the 50s, surplus. And the reason that they were surplus is because they never got used because they were all crap. And some marketing guy said, we're going to call it Alnico 4, and we're the only people in the world that have it.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
because there's no technical definition for Alnico 4, is there?
Right. No. I mean, well, you can buy Alnico 4s now from all the suppliers because there's a market for it, so they
Yeah.
call them 4s.
Yeah. Well, 50,
know.
60 years later, it's accepted, you know.
Right.
At the time, it was just some clever marketing guy going, wait a minute. I got an idea.
Yeah. But there's a big controversy on that, and some people claim they have facts that there actually was Alnico 4s. And so again, that's fine.
Some people say OJ wasn't there.
That's right.
You know, they'll
Yeah.
swear to it.
I believe that. You know.
Wow, these are fantastic. I can't wait to hear them acoustically. Uncle Mitch says, please repeat the 50-60 height reference again.
Well, the 5060s on the bass side, where the Alnico 5s are, they're about twice the strength of the treble side. So you want to drop the Alnico 5 side down, the bass side, into the pickguard further. So you want to angle it pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because these are almost buried here
On the bass side, yeah. And a lot of times what I'll do to balance out guys' pickups when they'll come up is just like, set the bridge pickup height, and then set the neck to match it volume-wise, and just use the switch. Go back and forth until you get a balance
that's why most
for height, overall height.
Most luthiers, stop teasing me, silly rabbit. They do that. They just sit there and go, and just let it ring until it balances by ear.
Yeah.
But it's important that it's your hand that's doing it.
Right.
You got to have the guy play it. It says, have Ron talk about that telly. What is the wood in that thing?
Well,
Bring it out.
yeah.
I did, just acoustically. It's it's sick.
I named this Crackle.
Let me hold this closer.
Yeah, hold it close so you can see it. So Chad Underwood built this, and
I can't get the glare off of it. You can see the finishes.
it's all cracked up.
It's beautifully round.
Chad does I'm one of those guys that I really don't care for relic guitars. It's better to like relic your own guitar kind of thing.
Yeah, relic it yourself.
But Chad's one of those guys that, he does a convincing relic job where it looks like an old guitar. It doesn't look like you took a belt sander to it.
Yeah, that looks like it got frozen.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I've done that to guitars when I lived in Missouri. Just put them in the trunk and go, oh crap, it's 10 below zero. You go out the next morning, and go, there's a ruined guitar.
Yeah.
We used to literally just dump them and sell them at that point. Now you pay people $1,000 to do it.
Yeah.
But what's funny is when it gets all those cracks in it, suddenly it sounds better.
Yeah,
because
let the wood breathe.
it's stress relieved, and now there's nothing holding back the wood vibration.
Yeah.
But no, Chad did this as kind of an experiment, kind of an extreme crackle finish on it.
Yeah.
But it's ash with a real big maple neck on it. Chad normally uses flat sawn necks like the old Tellys. The flat sawn has just a more of a flexible type feel to it. They're not as
what
super
is a
stiff.
flat sawn neck? It's the first time I've heard that.
Well, flat sawn is if you look at the grain here, it's flat this way versus quarter sawn, which is vertical.
Ah, okay.
And
Gotcha.
quarter sawn picks up a real beautiful like wood pattern.
Yeah, you get flame out.
And it's like Eric Johnson when he did the signature guitar. He likes quarter sawn necks because he likes a very stiff neck.
Yeah.
But you can feel it when you pick up one of those guitars
It's-
versus.
yeah.
But if you look at the old Tellys, they were either flat sawn or they were rift sawn.
Right.
And a little bit of an angle. And that's because that was the cheap wood.
Sure.
Quarter sawn was more expensive.
Right.
And I've gone through that. I put guitars together many times where I had to have quarter sawn, and then finally got privy to the flat sawn, and they always feel better.
Wow.
They just feel like an old guitar.
That's cool.
And again, there's probably a builder out there thinking I'm crazy for saying that.
Well,
and
it's
a
an opinion,
personal thing.
It's an opinion, and like I have to repeat many times because I get in my business. People try to draw me into these conversations a lot.
Yeah.
And I always just say, it's an opinion, and the opinion's validity ends with its owner. That's the definition of what an opinion is. There is no right or wrong, and there's 20 ways
true.
to do it right. And
No, Ron's right.
But in this case, Ron's absolutely right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
That's
by
it.
the
Next
example.
question.
It's by the example of the guitar. This guitar just works, whether it's the flat sawn or what it is. But this marriage of this body with this neck is just a magical guitar.
Man, I played it acoustically. It was sick. I love it.
And this is a familiar head shape.
Yes.
And that was done a long time ago. He doesn't do that any longer. He has his own headstock with his own decal. But he's in Lexington, Kentucky. Builds great guitars.
Yeah.
So
they have horses there too. Rock and Roll Willie has asked a couple of times, what are your thoughts on humbucker pole piece height adjustment?
well, it's funny you mentioned that because your good buddy Peter Stroud kind of turned me on to. I'd sent a couple of sets to Peter to check out, and he said, "Man, they sound great." And just in the last part of our conversation, he said, "I did my pole piece adjustment thing I do," and I said, well, "What's that?" Because I had honestly always kind of set
Peter does a lot of math. But, go ahead. I'm kidding. He just never touched it. At least not during the week.
But normally when you look at pictures of the old humbuckers, the pole piece height is kind of set down where it just follows the curvature of the board. And of course, people adjust it up and down to their preference. But the way Peter showed me how to do it, it just totally makes sense, is where you have the D string, the highest, you have the G string, the lowest of the screws, and then you graduate the other screws with the fretboard. But the two strong point is the G string is the lowest and the D is the highest. And it just balances everything out really nicely. And so what I started doing when I send out the pickups is to raise up the pole pieces like that. And I think what it does is when you do that, you're kind of accentuating the screw coil. And the slug coil ends up being like a slave coil, just a humbucker.
Right.
And it kind of gives you more of that single coil kind of sound.
A little more twang.
And it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you should just try it. There's been a couple of guys like Jacob Peterson is, who lives in Austin. He's Steve Miller's guitarist, and he tried it and went back to the kind of original setup and prefers that. So it's just by preference, but it's definitely worth a try.
Very fun. Sorry, there's a phone vibrating and I can't figure out where it is. I'm feeling, oh, it's right here.
And mine's still dinging.
My phone's been vibrating like crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody's pester dialing me. I just want to make sure it's 19 plus calls.
It just buzzes all the time.
Somebody's pester dialing me. It's just a lot of calls. 65 amp is busy today.
Good.
Okay, well, good. Look at that. 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9 calls just in the past. Okay. I will call you guys all back, I promise.
Not during lunch.
I've been sitting here just going, what is that? It's driving me crazy, all this vibration.
And then the only other thing, Dan, I was going to bring up, I did bring up, was my Les Paul, and that has the Betty neck and the same bridge you have. So it's the LRP hot, but it's got the Betty neck, and it's real clear.
Let's play it real quick.
Try it.
I think we're killing Ustream here for some reason now all of a sudden.
Is that 412 you're going through right now?
212.
212. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got in there?
It's G12H30, the anniversary edition, and Alnico Gold.
Oh, okay, together. Huh?
Yeah, I like mixing the magnets. Oh, yeah. Now, what is a Betty neck?
So
I'm such an amp nerd, I'm painfully ignorant on guitars.
the Betty neck, I use different magnets. So the LRP standard neck pickup is about 7.2K.
Right.
I use Alnico 2s. And on the Betty neck, I use Alnico 5s, and I wind it up to about 7.5, and it has a different wind pattern.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Sounds good. So you know Bob Dragich writes for Vintage Guitar, and
Yeah.
he's on here. And he's asking, would you consider making a Strat bridge pickup with a metal base plate so it sounds like a Telly?
I've done that. It accentuates it a little bit. A little bit brighter. I think makes it a little bit brighter overall. But that's kind of what I do with the hot bridge. That's the idea. Is it's wound. It's like a broadcaster.
So you kind of you get that extra same characteristic without just sticking something on there. Your
Yeah.
pickups are plenty bright. They're not too bright, but lots of beautiful top end detail.
Yeah, I think you'd find, with the hot bridge, the top end's already there. So, but I mean, it's something I can do on a regular bridge pickup.
This is. Did you say anything about the G and D pole piece height? That was you talking about Peter's deal.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Where the just set it up, just try it. Where you, I've got this like on this one. The G screw is down where it's almost down into the cover.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
And then I've got the D, which is up, Dan? It's probably 3/16 or something like that. And the D is the highest. The G is the lowest, and then you graduate the other ones according to the fretboard curve, which is 15 radius, whatever.
Right.
And like I say, it's just worth a try because it gives a different. There's a brightness to it, and there's a different feel overall that you get.
Show it in the camera. I don't know if I can get that much detail out of the camera or not. You can kind of see there. that works.
And if you guys want to email me at ronellispickups@gmail.com, I can send you a picture. I actually took a really good picture
Oh,
that
okay.
I can fire back to
Yeah,
you and
somebody
shows my setup.
Asking that earlier if we could post pictures on you.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Just a little different feel.
Oh, yeah.
The LRPs are, it's a little softer attack. It's a little sweeter. This is more of an immediate kind of a thing on the string.
A little more body too.
Yeah. The same goes for the bridge pickup on the Bettys. It's more of like, I would say it's more typical to a brighter PAF or like a patent number. You find those are a little more present, a little more fundamental.
Yeah, yeah. Cool the amp off here a little bit. Nice. Sounds really good.
The only other thing I did on this, Dan, is this has it's Faber bridge and tailpiece. It's a kit you can get, and it's a German company through CV Guitars.
Yeah.
And I tried it with that. I tried the Callahan also.
Right.
And this just has like this cool vintage kind of presence to it.
The Faber is a German stainless, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What is that, Ryan?
I think the whole kit was like $125
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
for the bridge, the tailpiece, and I think these screws here. And the whole thing locks down. It's really
Right,
cool.
so it's a hard connection, like the Tone Pros kind of thing.
Yeah.
Man, it's almost 2 o'clock.
Oh,
Do you have time for lunch?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep hearing about this deli.
Yeah, we got to go to Weiler's Deli, man. Well, guys, I didn't realize this. We're just having so much fun being guitar and pickup nerds that we ran way over. So thank you guys for sticking around. I noticed we lost some people. We still got a pretty good amount of people here. Thank you, Stratocaster Mojo. Says the show has been killer. Don't go. Well, hey, man, unless you're calling Weiler's Deli and having food delivered here on your credit card, we got to go, dude. You smell what I'm thinking, Jack? We're hungry. This has been really, really fun. And Ron, thanks so much for coming, man. I'm so glad you're here. We've
Dan,
talked
thanks
about this for so long.
Thanks for having me.
Let's try to make it more often.
Yeah.
We'll come up and do some more experiments, and
Be great.
you want to do some rock stars guitar up here while we can make a big deal out of it. And Jeff, thanks so much, man. I really enjoy your playing.
Thank you.
A lot of fun. Hopefully we'll see you soon. And thank you guys for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it. We certainly did not mean to go over this long, but hope you got an idea of what Ron's all about, what his pickups are about. It's always nice doing business with someone you feel like you know. I know Ron really well, and I was really excited about sharing Ron with you guys. So I hope you had fun. And so the best way to get a hold of you, Ron, is what, Facebook or email?
Yeah, I'm getting better at my Facebook. And again, all that's changing. I'm getting a website up. That'll be up pretty soon.
Yeah.
But just Ron Ellis Pickups at gmail.com.
Ron Ellis
It's the best way of getting a hold of me.
At gmail.com.
Yeah.
Once again, that's Ron Ellis Pickups at gmail.com. $99.99, third is lowest sale price. But the pickups, I don't know if we want to talk about pricing here or not, but they're kind of expensive, but they're really worth it. It's kind of, for me, it ended a lot of my pickup search. So I spent thousands of dollars buying affordable pickups. And, you get one good set, and man, I'm kind of done.
Well, and also, I offer a complete money back. I mean, I try to work with everybody. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get it dialed to the right guitar, or the right pickups for your guitar. But if we try it and they don't work for you, I'll just give you your money back.
It is an educated guess when you order pickups.
It is.
Because, this exact set of pickups will sound different in a different Les Paul.
Completely.
And so there's an element of unknown there that no one can adjust for. So, well, that's cool. Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time. We took a lot of it today. Not surprised because we had a good time. But get a hold of me if you can't remember how to get a hold of Ron. I'll hook you up with him. I think a lot of guys are saying come back soon, Ron.
Cool. Thank you.
There's 4 or 5 guys
Appreciate it.
here. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll make that happen. I think part of the reason you're able to come up was because of the government shutdown, right?
Yeah.
Ron, since he's in the CIA, he was furloughed for a minute and was able to come up. It was hilarious. We were talking on the phone. We were bitching about how stupid our government is, as everyone was a couple of weeks ago. And he's like, I can actually come up now because we got some time off.
Thank you, government.
Yeah, so hopefully you got all your back pay. Or at least you will, I hope.
I like they're working that out.
I know
we'll see what happens.
the CIO doesn't pay in dollars, so they pay in real money. It's euros, right? Is
Right.
that what they use?
Yeah.
Euros, yeah. They don't. They pay you something that has lasting value. Seriously, I need to hear this again. I love CRS. I'm not sure what that is, but okay. What is CRS? Is that Paul's brother, Chris?
CRS. Don't know.
Chris Reed Smith? Charlie Reed Smith?
Maybe wait and drink later in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of these guys are in Europe, and
Oh.
we got a lot of Europeans on here. Lots of English guys and Norwegians and French guys, and there's one guy here in Argentina.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a pretty decent little reach. Anyway, it's 2:00. We're freaking out of here. Thank you again, Ron and Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
And you're a poopin', someone says. That's inappropriate. It's funny, but it's very inappropriate. And
that
so
means.
we'll see you next week, and we'll have Ron Ellis back as soon as we can. And thanks again, Ron and Jeff, and thanks to Brett Chasen and Bob Kulick for letting us invade Office Studios, and Miles Rose for the color commentary, which is always great. And we'll see you soon. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.